G'day guys, I'm up in the mountains for my first hunt of 2022. In this area there's pigs, goats, foxes, possible wild dogs. I've brought with me the 6.5 PRC for daylight long range, the 308 Winchester for nighttime with the thermal scope. Let's see how we go. Plan of attack straight off the bat is to take the 6.5 PRC out for some long range goat action. The reason I want to get a few animals on the deck is I've got my 4G trail camera. The goats work really well as bait in front of that camera. It lets me know if any foxes or dogs come in, and I can get back in there throughout the night if I get a text message on my phone. The intention is to get a few goats, cut them open a little bit, drag them around on the main ridge lines and gullies on the quad bike for probably an hour or two, put some really good scent lines down, and then get them in front of that camera. Now I'm not going to video myself dragging them around. I did that on my last trip and YouTube said that the video was too violent, so we won't do that again. We'll just shoot stuff. A mob of goats up there on that hillside. It's 563 metres. I've got a 10 to 11 kilometre hour breeze coming back from about 10-11 o'clock. So the plan is we'll dial up just over 10 MOA to the left, 1.5. We'll send it, see if we can get one on the deck. Well, that worked out all right. A couple of goats on the deck and they're near a track. That's the tricky thing with this. It's not just point and shoot. You've got to get animals down that you can actually get to make it worthwhile. So we'll go and grab them, continue on our way. The weather conditions look great for the next couple of days, so that's a huge bonus. The downside, the grass. It's 6-7 feet long in some areas. If you said it was short, it'd be 3 feet long. It's an amazing season, heaps of feed everywhere, lots of cover for the feral animals to hide in, unfortunately. We'll see how I go tonight with the thermal gear. This afternoon, I'm just out in a back corner of the property that I haven't been in before for a little bit of an explore around. When the sun goes down, we'll get busy. I put my little mate the drone up and I managed to find a pig up on one of these fence lines, so at least I know they're here. That was no mean feat to find one in all this long grass, so that's promising. I'm going to duck back to the cabin, grab all the thermal gear. It's nearly dark. I'll get back in here in about 5 or 10 minutes and we'll see if I can find where that animal went. I've just pulled up here on the quad to have a look around, and that's a pig, and it's just there. Oh well, let's go and see if we can say hello. Oi! That's a good sized boar. I'm even happier that it's the first paddock, so some good intel again from the property owner. So there's been a few pigs up in here, and it's just getting dark now, so crack of sunset, off to a pretty awesome start for the evening. Well, here's a good example how quickly things can go wrong. Fortunately they didn't. It's just all this long grass riding around. I've just looked down, 2 massive big holes down in here. Bit of a wash, bit of a hole in the fence there where probably pigs have been going through. But yeah, that's how easy you can ride into one of these big holes. They're probably both waist deep, and it's dead flat out here. It's just a washout from all the water. You've got to be very careful. I've just spotted a pig duck down over this creek bank. Let's go and follow him up, see if we can get back onto him. That's a pig there, and a pretty big one too, I think. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. He's on the move a bit. He's not a bad sized pig, this fella. He nearly gave me the slip. He actually crossed the creek. I got my feet wet twice following this fella up. You can see there he's pretty thick. He knew something was up as I rode up over past a tank on the quad. He was down in near some cattle, so again, I wasn't going to just shoot at him over there because there's a lot of little calves about. Saw that pointy nose just as he ducked over the creek bank, so I followed him. I've probably gone about 300 metres. Now I've got to go back across the water, but still happy to get him on the deck. Righto, this time we've got at least 2 pigs down in this creek. That was effing terrible. So got both the pigs in the end, but what happened then was I walked in. They fed what I thought was behind a tree. I thought I'd walk around and get a better angle. Well, they walked underneath the tree towards me. That coincided with them popping out at about 10 metres away while I stood on a big dry branch. So they took off. Certainly wasn't my tidiest work, but this sow's got a fair bit of size on her and got the job done nonetheless. Bloody grass. You wouldn't believe it, I'm back in the paddock where I shot the first pig. So I've rode right along this creek for a couple of kilometres up to the end crossing, and they've had a little mini flood up here and it's blown out all the creek. So the track's gone, can't get across. I've turned around, rode all the way back. I've got nearly into the paddock where I shot the first pig this afternoon just on dark, and I've bumped 4 pigs. So I've got a pretty good idea where they're headed. They were onto me. I came over a little rise. They were only about 40 metres in front of the quad bike, so that never ends well. They went straight into a gully, slipped through the fence. So the plan is I'm going to try and walk around and get in front of them. I'm getting glimpses of them in all this long grass. Let's see how we go. Righto, 1, 2, 3, 4 pigs. Gosh, that was a hard little stalk in this long grass. I've followed these pigs for about 500 bloody metres. I eventually got in front of them, kind of cut them off. So this big fella here, he was shot number 1. It's hit him between the ear and the eye, so nothing wrong with that. He was almost front on when I fired. This pig back here, I think that was pig number 3. Pig number 2 is over there. I'll chuck a clip of him in. This one here is pig number 2 out of that mob. Not a big pig, not a small pig. Just a pig. Pig number 4, which is over there, it is an absolute mess. Now you'll see in the scope footage kind of an eruption of heat coming out of that animal. Call it a Texas heart shot that ended up tearing out a couple of ribs with the 308. So plenty of penetration on those 150 SSTs. Hell of a mess, and it's just not worth showing that because YouTube tend to not like that sort of stuff at the moment. I've just shot pig 9 and 10. I'm still walking back to the quad bike, so this one's number 9. I was hoping to get a pass through on this pig and hit the animal behind it, but yeah, it's a little bit bigger than I thought. I thought it was only a little one. It's obviously not. The other one's quite a bit bigger. I got a rear raking shot on that. We'll go and check her out. And that's the CO out of that pair of pigs, so nothing nice about that shot. 150 grain SST up the clacker out of a 308. Certainly a little bit messy, but that's the advantage to using a heavy caliber on these pigs, as it puts them down pretty hard. Why might you be looking at a mostly black screen? Well, that's because this dumbass's headlight went flat. Fortunately, I'm only about 300 metres from the quad bike and I can see it. So yeah, lesson in that, always take a spare headlight. It's 2 AM, I've made it back to the quad bike after my headlight went flat, and I am going to absolutely demolish this cold twister. Here's a little tip, guys, for all of you people that have never been lost, or you're like me and you have been lost, especially at night when hunting. It's really easy to wander off, leave your car, or in my case a quad bike, go and chase something, turn around and think, shit, which way is the bloody vehicle? So one of the things I do is I've got this little red light up here. I try to turn that on when I walk away from the bike. Now it just gives you something visual. It doesn't need to be very bright at all. It's certainly a bad idea to leave parker lights on or interior lights. That's one way to get a flat vehicle when you do get back. In this case, I walked off chasing those pigs and it's about 2 hours later when I've come back. So if I'd have left the parkers or the headlights on, battery would be flat on the bike and I'd be walking back to the cottage. I'm just down on the creek having a look at all this flood damage. A few months ago they had 120 mil of rain overnight, compounded on all the wet weather we've had over the last 6 months. Just trashed everything. Fences, roads, all the gully crossings. It's making it very challenging to get around on the quad bike. Another reason why I'm down here is I've brought myself for Christmas, I mean Santa brought me, is a little remote control rock crawler. It's just one of those little things to muck around with through the day, just killing the hours while it's warm and there's not much hunting activity. I could be out riding around on the quad bike, but it's not too productive. The areas that I do want to hunt, I find are best left alone. So I'll muck around with this thing down here until it gets a little bit later. The reality of a lot of these trips I do when I go away is daytimes are a time to catch up on a bit of sleep. I'm normally out to between 2 and 4 AM, so I don't get a whole lot of it overnight. Normally go out and have a look around in the morning and then come back through the middle of the day, try and get a little bit of rest. So about all you can do to make that work is put some earplugs in, mask on, lights out. Just had a massive ride up through the top mountain corner of this block and I didn't know this gate was here, so that's a really good find. That's unlocked a big piece of the puzzle, which is this property. I'm just out doing some glassing this afternoon. I had a pretty late night, early morning, 4 AM I got into bed, so I've been pretty tired. I've had a snooze, bummed about camp, cleaned a heap of things up after that flood came through. So it's been really warm today. I don't imagine that the pigs would be too active. Interestingly, I've checked a few dams and things like that. Nothing, I can't see any wallows. The problem is there's so much feed and there's so much water, so the pigs can just live wherever they want. They don't have to come into those central points. It's normally good hunting if you can find the water in summertime, just not in these conditions. So I'm just glassing these opposite faces here. There's a couple of goats right up on the boundary on the range, but those guys are safe. I can't see anything in amongst where I am other than kangaroos. I did see a few deer as I rode up here, which is interesting, but I think most of my time will be better spent once it gets dark. We'll get a lot more productive then. I've just told myself, put the big camera away, stop mucking around and get on the binos more. And I've moved the bike about 100 metres, looked down into this gnarly little gully, and there's a pig walking through the dogwood. So I've clocked it at 320 metres. The ELDM projectile's pretty much core drilled straight through it behind the front leg. And the pig just sort of walked backwards about 2 or 3 steps, claret pumping out of it everywhere, and then just rolled down into the gully. So I'm not going to go over there and try and find it, but I'm happy to get one on the deck nonetheless. That's what we're looking for. Decent sized mob of pigs. Getting closer now, probably about 70 metres. Try and get them before they cross that bloody creek. They split bloody fast. That went to shit really quickly. Nothing like a good plan, which was to walk in on this gateway here, set up on the post. Over here, about 20 metres away, there's quite a big tree, and that's where the main mob of pigs were feeding. Cue this sow that walked into 6 metres away. I'm not going to complain about shooting a pig at 6 metres, but it was all very close and fast, and those bigger pigs just took off like lightning. The grass down in here is really long. I managed to get another 2. They're out there in the grass. I'm wasting heaps of time just trying to find pigs for a pretty picture. I'm going to stop doing that. You guys that watch the channel regularly will know I'm a bit of a fiend on the foxes with the thermal gear. No luck on this trip. I've seen a couple. They're all pretty flighty, but this long grass, it's giving me heaps of trouble. I'll keep at it. You never know. Got a little entourage at the moment. Yes, I know. I can't help you guys. I haven't got any milk. I don't know why these guys are following me. Anyway. Righto, I've got a pig out here on this hillside. It's about 100 metres away at the moment. Let's see if we can close the gap a little bit. Got 2 pigs out here. I've got one here about 60 metres away. And I've got another one over there. I'm tempted to shoot the one that's farther away first, and then pivot back and try and get a shot at this guy. Oh, you little bastard, bloody contour. No complaints when you get a big boar like this on the deck. He's a pretty decent sized pig. Now, that little plan didn't quite work out. What was meant to happen, I was meant to shoot this guy and then pivot back onto the closer pig and slot that one too. Well, the closer one took off. As you'll see in the footage, they went straight into a depression, then behind a tree, and I just couldn't get a shot at it. So I didn't quite read the lay of the land there, which is a little bit of a shame, but nonetheless, good outcome. I'm not happy. You guys know that I love shooting feral cats. Well, I've just bumped into one at about 5 metres. It was sitting there. I actually saw it in my red headlight just in a little gully before I stepped into it. The bloody thing, I just got the gun turned on, hit record on the scope, and it took off. It wasn't going to stop long enough to get a shot either, so I'm spewing. I've just seen an animal out in this paddock. Now, I'm not sure what it is. It could just be a sheep, but it's moving and it seems to be alone, so normally a good indication it's a pig, but I can't tell, so we'll close the gap. I've just got to change angles a little bit. It's very important when you do this walk up thermal stuff that you get the wind right. If that's no good, it's game over. One little pig in the grass there. I thought I saw 2. It's a rat. Don't know where the other one is. That's a good example of what thermal can do in long grass. I'll show you guys as I walk out of here what I was dealing with. It's super thick in here, but got the job done. That pig was about 10 metres through a whole heap of this stuff. As you can see, pretty thick, agricultural, nothing a mower, wouldn't fix. Punch through all of this. There's our dead pig. Here's a really good example of how the wind can absolutely F your night up. You have to get it right when you're doing this thermal stuff. It's not simply a matter of see the animal, walk in the dark and shoot it. If that wind's wrong, especially pigs, they're out of there. So I've bumped this mob of pigs. Wasn't a bad size either. They came off the paddock to my left. I thought, oh, I'll shoot at them, I'll shoot at them. No, they're slowing up. I think I know where they're going to head. There's a big gully over in here. So I let them go. Grabbed the gun off the quad, the tripod, headed off on foot. I've walked about 300 metres up, parallel with them. Managed to get in front a little bit, and just as I've started to cut in, I felt the wind up the back of my neck. A couple of little heads pinged up in the grass. Pigs out of there. They went straight into all this long junk and weeds and stuff like that. I managed to get one on the deck, a couple of ordinary shots at them that didn't connect with anything. Happens to us all. I've just burnt through a full 10 round magazine in the 308. Bumped a mob of pigs in this long grass. It's like a big gentle slope. I've absolutely flogged the crap out of them. Unfortunately, I'd put the Thermion 2 into picture mode, not record. One of the downsides to using multiple thermals, some you have to hold down on record, some you tap. I did the opposite. Anyway, I realised towards the end of that little chase what I'd done and managed to get a few of the clips on record. Certainly raked into these guys pretty hard. It's jacked up the tally of pigs for this trip. Good stuff. Fucking grass. I've just fired up the screen on my GPS. That's how you know you've just terrorised a mob of pigs around chasing them on a quad bike. Have a go at that. It's like Mr. Squiggle. Like all good things, this trip must come to an end, but it's been an awesome start to 2022. Quite a few pigs on the deck. Big thank you to the property owners for letting me out. These trips aren't possible without you guys. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. Chuck a comment down below what you thought of the trip. I'd really appreciate it if you had a look at my Patreon, and I'll see everyone next time.